whole lot of information on the internet about copywriting, but I'm here to let you know right now what exactly copywriting is. But before we do, don't forget to come to Funnel Hacker Pro. That's funnelhackerpro.com. So if you're ready to find that out, just stick around. Let's go. All right, so welcome back to the channel. If you're brand new to the channel, this is the #1 place for entrepreneurs on the planet, period. Click that thumbs up if you like the video, or click it thumbs down if you don't. Doesn't matter to me. Just let me know what you like, what you don't like. All right, so what is copywriting? So a lesser known copywriter named John E. Kennedy, well, you see his birth date here, born in 1864, lived till 1928, was a copywriter. In 1904, he went to another copywriter. His name was Albert Lasker. He actually owned this Lord and Thomas agency. And how he got the job was, he was like, I can tell you, he sent him a note. He said, I can tell you, we're trying to get a job. Now, just to give you a little backstory, the dude was working, like going door to door, and he couldn't keep a job. And so he's like, man, I can see, like, I can do this advertising if I can just, what I say out of my mouth, I can go to one of these places and tell them what it is. So he went to Lord and Thomas and sent Albert Lasker a note and said, I can tell you what advertising is. So dude was like, he was curious, and so he sent for the dude and was like, all right, what are you talking about? And he said, advertising is salesmanship in print. And that is like the definition that the internet and everybody else, all copywriters, kind of accept for what copywriting is. Here's Albert Lasker. He started well, he didn't start the Lord and Thomas. He actually started sweeping the floors. Then he got to be a copywriter. He ended up owning the agency later on, right? And there's the whole salesmanship in print, right? And there he goes, that's how he met John E. Kennedy. He told him that, right? Later on, one of the biggest copywriters, and this is what I'm getting to, is Claude Hopkins. You've probably heard of him. He sold a lot of shit for that advertising agency. And the reason why I bring him up is because he has a book called My Life in Advertising and Scientific Advertising. And it's really 2 books in one. And Ogilvy said if you haven't read it 7 times, then you're not serious about it. It's one of the books that I recommend that you read, and I do read it over and over and over again. And I'm bringing this up for a reason. I'm coming to a point here. Just stick in there with me. If you want to work for Agora Financial, which is one of the biggest publishers in the world, and some of their copywriters are the most paid copywriters on the planet, highest paid copywriters on the planet, I should say. You have to read this book 6 times. And this book comes from 1930s. All right. So we're talking about a book and advertising techniques that were over 100 years old. Copywriting is one of these funny things. It doesn't change. And so one of my first mistakes when I got into reading these books was, and you'll see people leave these reviews on Amazon and say that, well, that's dated. Don't make that mistake. All the information and all the books that I'll ever ask you to read, or I'll recommend that you read, all of the advertising methods that they use are working today. Nothing has changed. I want that to be clear, and I want you to understand that, and I want you to accept that. That's one of the hardest things to accept. You're going to think that because you're reading an ad from the 1900s that it's not going to work today, and you would be wrong. The same headlines work, the same copy, the bullet points work, the same offers work. The language and the words themselves may be different, right? So how they used to, different phrases they used to say, or different sentences they used to use, maybe some of the grammar is different, but the actual methods of advertising and direct response copywriting is the same. So what I want to do is kind of give you a physical representation of what that would look like. So here's a flashlight ad that I found on Facebook. And here it is: smart, powerful, and efficient. Get Black Friday discount today. basically a buy my shit ad. This ad didn't do well. As a matter of fact, some of the comments were like, this is a scam, right? And so this is not copywriting. Now, I want to show you a successful ad that I wrote myself for the same flashlight. And it was like, attention homeowners. Number one, I called them out. Who do I want to talk to? Number two, did you know 41% of Americans are not prepared for an emergency? Now, I'm asking them a question, and I'm catching their attention. And now I'm starting a story. So it was no fun being awakened at 2 a.m. to the sound of my screen door slowly closing, said Brenda, single mother living alone. Now that's going to catch your attention. So I got up and walked down the stairway, and there he was, a guy dressed in all black, creeping up the stairs. He was so close I could smell his breath. I could have reached out and touched him. So now what I'm trying to tell you is this sold a lot of flashlights, and this is actual copywriting. What I'm doing here is I'm showing a benefit of having the light, okay? I'm not saying just buy my light because it's cool. It's a powerful and it's a cool light. Any flashlight can do that. But this is a flashlight that perhaps could have saved Brenda's life, right? Without her having to kill him with a gun. So I use this as an angle. These are called angles. But the only reason I'm showing this to you is not to show you how to write a flashlight ad. What I'm showing you is the difference between someone saying buy my shit because it's cool and buy my stuff. And here is showing a benefit, how this can benefit you. And that's called research. So now you go from somebody saying advertising in print, right? Or salesmanship in print. And I want to take that away. And copywriting, I'm going to be honest with you, is research. That's all it is. It's just one big ass research. Ogilvy started in the research department. That's why he was such a good copywriter. If you want to be a good copywriter, you have to do your research. And the reason why you want to do your research is so you can find out these little angles. So you can find out what makes people scared. What are they afraid of? What can make them happy? What tickles their fancy? What do they like? What they don't like? What makes them tick? It's research. Research is 80% to 90% of copywriting. And I'm not like fluffing that up or anything. I'm telling you, like, I honestly believe I'm almost wanting to say 95%. Research is 80 to 90% of copywriting. The rest of it is how you're going to stack it up. So basically, and I said this to my wife the other day, and I wanted to explain this. How is it possible? And I want you to ask yourself this about copywriting. This is only the second video in a series of videos that I'm coming out with. So I'm going to talk more about this. So don't think this is the last video. But what I want you to think about is sit down in front of a computer and ask yourself, how could I tell somebody all about myself without mentioning me? Copywriting, the number one rule of copywriting is what's in it for it's what's in it for me, right? But I want to say what's in it for your prospect. The second rule, that was the second thing that was hard for me to grasp. And I got it really quickly because I have a lot of life experience. So for you younger people out there, it's going to be hard for you to understand this. But it's never about you, ever. So whenever you're writing your copy, you have to realize that you can't speak about you, your company, or your product. How is that possible, right? How can I talk to somebody about buying something that I want to sell them without talking about it? And that right there is copywriting. Hey, listen, man, if you like this video, share it with a friend, man. Click the thumbs up button if you can dig it, man. Whatever you decide to do here with copywriting, I want you to understand that when you start studying copywriting, when you start writing, you're going to have to do it every day, man. No excuses, no explanations. Go get it done.